Good morning, it's Amy Slaughter-Myers, one of the clergy here at St. Francis Episcopal Parish. I am the Vicar for Mission at St. Francis and Epiphany Community Center. Today I'd like to read you a passage in Eugene Peterson's paraphrase of Matthew 25. I think it'll be familiar to you. I ask you to open your mind and take a breath and try to hear this as if this is the first time you've heard this passage. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Enter, you who are blessed by my Father. Take what's coming to you in this kingdom. It's been ready for you since the foundation of the world. And here's why. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was homeless and you gave me a room. I was shivering and you gave me clothes. I was sick and you stopped to visit. I was in prison and you came to me." The king will say, "I'm telling the solemn truth. Whenever you did one of these things to someone overlooked or ignored, that was me. You did it to me." Amen. The Vicar for Mission has a special focus on equipping all of us to do the work of Matthew 25. As you know, all of us as Christians are meant to represent God and the good news and the mission fields that we find ourselves in as individuals, in our families and households, in our workplaces, in our communities. But St. Francis Episcopal Parish and Epiphany Community Center also have a mission, a corporate mission. And one of the ways that we're beginning to think about that, and one of the ways that I invite you to reach out to me and let me know how you're thinking about that, is what is the special call in Matthew 25 that you hear for us today? We're a brand new congregation in November of 2020, in the midst of COVID, a pandemic. How do we embody what Jesus wants us to embody today? I'm going to suggest something to you, and I'd love to have you pray with it and think about it. What's most important about this passage in Matthew 25 is less about the action, the giving of the food, the giving of clothing, the giving of space, and more about how we do it, how we execute that. As you know, mission, in terms of missions in the Church Universal historically, have behaved in ways that we would recognize as being dangerous today. So the power of the church, the arrogance of the church in centuries past around bringing something to more vulnerable communities that is not already present in those vulnerable communities. But what's clear in Matthew 25 today for me is that God is already at work in the world. God is already at work with the most vulnerable. In fact, God identifies God's self with the hungry and the homeless and those in prison and those who are ignored and those who are overlooked. So when we bring ourselves into relationship with people who are struggling in the ways, some of them noted here in Matthew 25, and the complexities of 21st century life, we can think of so many other ways that people are struggling. What we are doing is meeting Jesus one-on-one. One of the great gifts about being founded as a new congregation in this time is that even if we have had no personal experience of isolation, for example, social isolation, now we do. Even if we had had prior to this no personal experience of scarcity of food or insecure housing or pressures that are overwhelming in the world around us, now we do. God calls us to solidarity with those who are struggling. And in doing that, we meet God in ourselves and in others. Amen.